We're here at Brooklyn Brewery. We're having a planning workshop. This is the third planning workshop we've held. We held two previously for Community Board 2 and Community Board 6, and created a conceptual plan for the Greenway, identifying where it's going to be physically, etc. This is the planning workshop for Community Board 1, covering Greenpoint and Williamsburg. The people in the background are roughly 100 residents of Greenpoint and Williamsburg who decided to spend this evening with us to help figure out exactly what the Greenway is going to be like in their community. The first issue is, will there be a separated bikeway, physically separated from traffic, in Greenpoint and Williamsburg?
In the grand scheme of things, there's not a whole lot of traffic needing to cross Kent Avenue or West Street. It's sort of limited to people who live there. So what we came up with was a physical separation along Kent Avenue and putting a two-way bike lane on the west side of Kent Avenue and West Street.
But we feel that the large park around Bushwick Inlet allows for an opportunity to create a diversion through the park. So there will be sort of a secondary bikeway that is more for leisurely users and families, and people go slower, that sort of meanders through the park and then comes back on North 9th.
The continuity of the pedestrian walk, if there's an issue, that they should build on the water so that it's continuous, so no one has to go to the street.
There was a lot of concern from bikers that we needed very rational connections, that they needed to be in the right kind of intersections, because the kinds of merges that you have in some places where you have bikes and people make for dangerous situations.
Even with the planned developments along Kent, we think it's really important to have a separated bike lane.
We were very adamant about keeping the route on the waterfront.
In addition, all the buildings along here are likely to put in parking garages. Cars are going to be going back and forth. Okay, you're going to have high traffic, large number of accidents.
One of the things that we suggested was a kind of speed table for those who are familiar with traffic calming principles, that the actual separated bike lane would be raised up so that cars, when they're turning onto the waterfront streets, would have to slow down to go over like a little hump.
We support the long-term plan to create a separated bike path along West Street, and the emphasis there would be transportation, sort of commuters, and basically faster bike traffic.
The trucks are a problem on Kent Street. We decided we needed to get rid of some of the parking on Kent Street so that you'd have enough room for bikes.
Our main thesis for this was that the bikeway and the walkway has to be on the water. And we agree with, I counted 6 different groups, that the area along the water has to be calm. It can't be commuters trying to get from point A to point B as quick as possible.
Right now, the rezoning with the 40-foot setback doesn't have enough room to put separate bike and pedestrian paths. And that's part of the Greenway Initiative's prescription or design objective for the Greenway, is to have separate paths for these two uses so that cyclists can do their thing and get their exercise, and pedestrians can lower their blood pressure if they want to by walking slowly, not worry about bikes. So we want it to be designed in such a way that it serves the users very well 20, 50 years into the future. You know, the last thing we wanted to do is have something 20 years from now that people look at and say, well, if they're going to do it, why didn't they do it right? We want to anticipate the needs of the future and build the capacity and design it for success.